everyone, thank you so much for watching. Today's webinar is a chance to learn more about EVO and an opportunity to answer some of the most frequently asked questions. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the Evo Management Team. On the call today, we have John Norman, the EVO CEO. We have Anthony Tann, the COO. We have Greg Costello and Kevin Barry, EVPs of Combat, and Jay Howard, EVP of Racing. Kendall Almerico, the Securities Counsel, and Marvell Wring, an EVO trainer. So first up, the number one question is, what is EVO? John, can you give us an overview?
Certainly. Well, EVO was created to solve a major problem in individual professional sports. And that number one problem is funding.
And why is the company called EVO?
The company is called EVO, and EVO is short for Evolution Development Group. And really what we're trying to do here is evolve the way individual sports have been played in the past.
And what sports will you be focusing on?
Right now, the three sports that we're going to be focusing on are auto racing, MMA fighting, and golf. And we anticipate that we will evolve into other individual sports as well, such as tennis.
Anthony, how will EVO make money?
So EVO's primary purpose is to develop world champion athletes in individual sports. And the way that we make money is through several different factors, being athlete winnings, athlete sponsorship, endorsement, merchandise sales, and then other ancillary revenues that EVO will be announcing in the future.
John, what kind of athlete will EVO be having under its umbrella?
Well, we are going to be scouting and looking for individual athletes that are already competing at the top of their game, and they might be struggling financially at the same time. And we are going to put them through a very rigorous selection process to make sure that they meet all the criteria that we have. And if they do, then we will give them the funding and, most importantly, I think the support needed for them to excel and become the best that they can be.
And is there an age limit from the athletes you'll be scouting?
Right now, no, there really isn't. We're looking for the athlete that has the exceptional talent. And we're not so focused on their age, or there might be athletes that have been in the game for a while and are coming back, and we feel that they have what it takes to become a champion. So it's really right now about their talent.
And will you be scouting athletes just from the USA or globally as well?
We are going to be scouting athletes globally. Sports are one of those topics that it's universal, and we feel that it doesn't matter if the athlete is in the United States or not, but we're going to be looking for athletes worldwide.
Thank you so much. My next question is for the combat team. Why are combat sports like MMA and boxing considered so expensive?
Well, to perform at a high level, various aspects have to be factored in to make the combat fighter a more complete athlete. MMA, for example, has multiple disciplines. You need a boxing coach, you need a kicking coach, you need a jiu-jitsu coach for your ground game, and then you've got a strength trainer, a very good diet and supplementation program, memberships to a boxing gym, a fitness gym. These things really add up. And then as the athlete progresses, you've got a physiotherapist, you've got recovery work with cryotherapy and massage and yoga, a stretching coach. So these all add up. And, MMA, same as boxing, for example, you have your basic kit is, your boxing boots, your training gear, various size gloves, a skipping rope, a mouth guard, a head guard, a ball guard. These are all expensive. And then once you actually go into competition and you look at your competition gear, you've got boots, you've got your boxing shorts, you've got your corner jackets for your training team, you've got your dressing gown. And then once you start in competition, you have the medical requirements. Boxers have a boxing physical. They have an eye exam where the pupils have to be dilated. They have blood work. They have an MRA and an MRI. These are yearly expenses and they really add up. When you're fighting in different states, some states have different rules and regulations for medical requirements each state. So it can be very costly. And that's why these guys, they need the support of a company like Evo, someone to get them behind them and to enable them to do their job, to prepare as a combat fighter to the best of their ability and to be as successful as they can by the support that we give them.
How will the people invest in Evo? And that's for Kendall.
Well, when we're ready for people to invest, you're going to have a link that will allow people to click on it, go to a website, and fill in forms. It's very much like if you were buying something on Amazon and opening an account there. You're going to give them your name and your address and some other information. You're going to decide how many shares you want to buy in the company. You're going to use your credit card, or you can directly transfer the money from your bank account, just like you would in any e-commerce website. It's very easy, and it's built in a way to make it as simple and self-explanatory as possible. There's no brokers that you have to go visit in their office and ask them to do this or that. You do it all at home. You do it from your laptop. You do it from your phone. It's very simple, very self-explanatory, and people really enjoy the process of buying stock online and owning a part of a company like Evo without having to go through all the headaches that you normally would have to go through to buy stock.
Is that why Evo chose this type of stock offering?
Yeah, I think that this type of stock offering online is under a law called Regulation A. And the reason Evo chose it is because it allows anyone in the world, anyone who has any income level, the average Joe, the average Jane, the sports fan, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be well connected. You don't have to know someone on Wall Street. You can invest. Everyone can invest. And that's the beauty of Regulation A, is that it allows anyone, anywhere in the world to invest in the company very simply online without having to be rich and well connected.
Anthony, I'd like to know, will the investors have an opportunity to choose the athletes that Evo sign?
At the beginning, the answer to that question is no. But as Evo grows and progresses into the future, I know that we would like to build in a form of investor / fan involvement in our athlete selection process.
John, how will the investors know which athletes you do sign? And will there be press releases or social media updates?
Well, we plan on having a very robust social media campaign. We will, of course, do press releases when we sign a new athlete. So we're going to keep everybody informed, and we're going to have a whole social media department that is going to be continually producing content and videos on our athletes to make sure that everybody knows what's happening on the Evo front.
And will the investors have behind-the-scenes access?
Yeah, one of the best things that we think that we can provide our investors is behind the scenes, being able to let them go and see things that the ordinary fan cannot see. So a lot of our effort is going to be focused on doing unique things just for our investors to make sure that they can even communicate directly with our athletes directly. So we're really excited about this plan.
Greg, how will you recruit athletes? Is there a rigorous selection process?
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the combat arena, we have one of the best coaches out there in Kevin Barry. So we'll continue that process to select the up and coming talent that is ready to turn professional and do it through those means.
It's very important for us that with the recruiting process that we get it right And the fact that I've been in the sport for over 50 years, and as I mentioned before, a professional coach for 30 years, I believe that I can identify talent. My strike rate throughout my career is pretty good. I have a lot of fighters approaching me all the time to train with it, to be part of my gym and to come under my stable. I think with identifying the talent, we have to even look deeper than that. You know, there's a lot of good, skillful, physical guys, but we have to also look at a fighter's mental game. The physical and mental have to be on point, both of them. We need a fighter who's prepared to be disciplined, hardworking, somebody who is going to be able to control his emotions under pressure. So if we get all these things right, we give our shareholders a better chance of being successful. And I think that is very, very important, that we don't just go for somebody who up front looks like the right package. We have to go for somebody who is both physically and mentally on point and gives us a better chance of being successful.
It's a great answer. Thank you so much. Next, my question is for Marvell. Aside from funding, how will you offer support for your athletes?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. One of the things that we've been able to offer thus far has been a focus on our pro style training. And in that pro style training, it's pretty clear we are looking, like Kevin alluded to in his piece, we're looking to basically focus on building the complete athlete, not just someone that looks like it, complete, comprehensive. Some of the areas that I think that are key to mention are obviously the athletic development, hand and eye, agility, foot pounds in some of our respective divisions. Nutrition is going to be key as well too, obviously. Injury prevention and treatment is going to be at the top of the level for our fitness division as well too. The longer we can sustain an athlete's life cycle, the better it is for everyone, not only for that athlete, but for the company and obviously for the investors as well. Kevin alluded to the fact that the mental game, the biggest muscle that I think that plays a factor into all of this, guys, is going to be pretty simple. The muscle in between the ears, which is the brain. Sports psychologists, we have to have the athlete's mind right to be able to perform, to be able to execute at the highest levels. So we're going to obviously leverage those resources and capabilities when they're needed.
So I know we have a couple of them on the call, but Anthony, can you tell me who your scouts are? Our
scouts are former professional athletes, professional trainers, and individuals like Kevin Barry and Jay Howard. You know, just listening to Kevin talk about how passionate he is for combat sports and, his selection of those types of athletes, I think that speaks, 1,000 words to who we have selecting our athletes. And, same goes towards Jay Howard when, Jay gets going for the individuals that he's looking for to get into an EVO car. Those are the types of people that we have selecting our athletes.
Does an investor get to scout for EVO?
One of the benefits for being an investor in EVO is that your investment makes a difference. It will help make a difference in an athlete's career. So I think that initially, being part of the EVO team and having a voice and possibly recommending an athlete that you know of that maybe isn't on our radar, and being able to be part of this program, I think is exciting for the investor. This has never been done before. I mean, before people always say, boy, I wish these guys would pick this person or this team or whatever. But here you actually get to make a difference.
My next question is for the EVO combat team. How does someone get to be an EVO fighter?
Well, obviously it starts with talent. And, talent will always be noticed. And, we're looking at talent in various areas all the time. Right at the moment, I've got resumes of about 20 Eastern European fighters on my desk. Most of them are undefeated. Most of them are very hungry. Most of them have extensive amateur careers, and they are just willing to be signed by somebody who will give them the financial support to become a world champion. So I think it's a very good position for us to be in. I have people that I work with in Russia, Uzbekistan, Ukraine, some of the major Kazakhstan, some of the major boxing centers in Europe. We're also always looking at American fighters and at Mexican fighters. A lot of them get signed, a lot of them get picked up, especially high-profile fighters who will be coming out of the Olympic program. Most of them are snatched up by the top ranks of the world, Top Rank and Eddie Hearn in the UK and Golden Boy in California. But there are others, who might have just missed out on the Olympics, who we're looking at. So, it's a continual process, looking at the results, looking at the tournaments, watching what people are doing. And I think once EVO is launched and once we are legitimately in business, there will be a lot of people banging on our door to want to be part of a company like this.
Just to add to that, the process of actually becoming an EVO athlete is when we will fly them into the private gym here in Las Vegas and go through a 2-week training process with Kevin, where he will evaluate them from their skill set, sparring, strength work, conditioning, all of that. We will make a decision on those athletes and let them know they will continue on to be an EVO athlete.
And is that the development process of a fighter, just working one-on-one with you?
It'll be working one-on-one with Kevin and Kevin's stable of athletes
and coaches
and evaluating the process. I'll let Kevin expand on that.
Yeah, look, we have a team of coaches and professional people who will all be looking at anyone we bring in. I think it's very important that that blood work is done, that the full physical is done. We have to make sure that the people that we choose not just appear to be good, but we want to make sure that everything is good with them health-wise. And as I said before, it starts with talent. So for a start off, before they can ever get invited to trial, they have to have shown a high level of talent. We know that with the right coaching and the right program, that we can build on that talent, but it starts with talent.
Thank you so much. And I have the same question for Jay. How does someone get to be an EVO racer?
Yeah, we obviously are going to have a EVO selection process. And unfortunately for me, with my race team, I'm involved in a lot of the lower level formulas where you see that young talent coming through. So we're able to kind of pick them out, identify them at a young age, and just exactly what EVO is all about, right? Find that talent that stands out from a crowd and pick them up and give them the right coaching and training and help them become professionals.
Once a driver has your attention, how will EVO develop them?
Yeah, the key thing for any driver to be fast is to get seat time and quality seat time. So, as a driver, there's a lot of things that we work through in terms of pre-test, pre-race reports, driver notes that we supply to them, which is their homework before they get to an event. Obviously, have their training from a fitness side of things. That's kind of separate from this, but then getting to the track, working through video, data review, looking at their braking techniques, throttle application, steering application, the time in between all of that, just getting quality laps in, which again comes full circle back to funding, and that's what these guys need to get better. And so, we're really looking forward to having that opportunity because you put talent with the support, and that's a winning combination.
Thanks so much. Now, John, will investors get to interact with athletes?
Yes, we anticipate a lot of interaction between our investors and the athletes in many different ways, whether they're on social media events or private video chats that are only available for our investors, to on-site, it may be major races or major events, fighting events and such. We're going to have exclusive parties or exclusive access for the investors. So we're very excited about offering exclusivity to our investors.
Greg and Kevin, could you tell me a little bit more about those events for investors?
Yes. I think the first meeting that John and I ever had was a meeting about sponsorship for race car drivers. And, we kind of went back and forth and had lunch for an hour and I talked about my background in entertainment and pulling off major events at major sporting events, which meant, bringing in A-list talent and throwing pretty much a Las Vegas style concert, if you will, at an event. And, I think John took that back and kind of, with his creative mind came up with the concept of EVO. And, the next time I heard from him, he came at me with this whole athlete thing and how we could do it and how we could surround that with events at these sporting events that our athletes will be participating in. So we will definitely grow into major entertainment events at sporting events. And that's a great time for our investors to come into these events, watch our athletes, get some entertainment that they couldn't get anywhere else, and also hopefully at that point meet the athletes and have a chance to hang out with them and really get to know them. So that's the vision of EVO in the future. And
I think it's also something that we can do in a gym environment, for the right investor. Invite them to the gym to see the combat fighters up close in training, to watch full on sparring. It's something that I've done a lot with sponsors in the past, and I know that they bring their clients with them and they love it, and so there's no reason why it's something that we couldn't do, because when you get that close to a combat athlete, it's quite an unreal experience for someone who hasn't been part of anything like that before.
And I could also add something. I think it's really interesting that, I spent about 12 years of my life representing professional baseball and football players, and I got to see a lot of things behind the scenes that no one gets to see at the major league and NFL level, even Olympic athletes, NASCAR. I saw things no one else got to see, and my friends always wanted to know, tell me what happens behind the scenes. One of the great things about EVO is, as an investor, you're going to have a section of the website as we develop the company in the future where you're going to get a lot of these behind the scenes type things that no one else gets to see. So when Kevin talks about someone being in the gym, if you can't make it to the gym or it's just not possible for you, we're going to let you see that online. Jay Howard might have people in the pits or doing testing, and we're going to see those types of things about Evo Athletes. So as an investor, you're going to peek behind the curtain and get to see what actually happens in a professional athlete's world in a way that no one else will get to do in the regular world.
That's a great answer. Thank you so much.
Asha?
Yes.
I just wanted to also add that I've been very fortunate over the last 30, 40 years of being in the entertainment business. And what I specialize is in creating experiences. And one of the things that's so exciting about EVO is that we are really going to focus on creating experiences for our investors. Like Kendall just mentioned, we are going to be wanting to take you behind the scenes, take you to places that you've never seen before. And since that's really what I cut my teeth on in business, I'm going to really put that onto the company to make sure that we're providing that.
Thanks so much, John. Next question is from Marvell. How has COVID-19 affected individual professional sports?
Yeah, it's been pretty unique this year, unlike anything we've ever seen. Obviously, when we look at it, we break it up. We stay domestic, East Coast versus West Coast here in the United States. On the East Coast, we haven't been hit as hard, other than a few places like New York, etc. But in Ohio, where our gym is located, basically we were shut down in March. You think about the downtime for an athlete having access to our facility is 10,000 square feet, over 200 pieces of equipment. Think about the resources and the items that they would use for their training process. Not having any access to that for 3-4 months, trying to figure out what it is that we're doing on the West Coast. Some of you guys may be familiar that some West Coast facilities are actually still shut down today since March. So you count the number of months and show the impact that most athletes won't have access or have access to a limited training staff. That means that physically they're not ready. Mentally, think about what some athletes go through with some depression. So you think about not having those things in place. It's a really, really big impact.
Thank you so much. I'd like to bring it back to Evo Racing. Jay, do you plan to have Formula One, NASCAR, or just IndyCar drivers?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, our focus is IndyCar, but the bottom line is, Evo is all about seeking the talent. And so if we can take that talent to Formula One, NASCAR, wherever, it makes no difference to us. We're all about the athlete.
Kendall, in what ways can an investor get a return on their investment?
Well, like any investment that you make, you're buying part of the company when you buy stock in Evo. So you'll own a piece of the company. If the company makes a profit, then if the company distributes those profits to people, you'll have a chance to make a return on your money that way. But the classic, a couple of ways that people would look at Evo, or I look at it, is that number one, we do have a revenue sharing provision, which basically says when Evo makes a certain amount of money, a piece of that is going to be shared with investors who invest through this stock offering. So if Evo is making money, you will get some of that money as part of your investment. But the big picture is bigger than that. When you look at what happens with athletes, we'll have athletes as this develops in racing and combat sports and possibly other individual sports. And each contract that Evo has with those people will give Evo a percentage of the money that athlete earns. So if a guy goes out and wins the world championship in boxing and becomes very wealthy, Evo will own part of that. If someone goes out and wins the Indy 500 and it's one of the Evo athletes, Evo will get a part of that. And also endorsement money. And when these people start getting commercials and getting paid for appearances, all of that, in some cases, and every athlete will be different, Evo will get a piece of that. And as Evo gets a piece of that, if someone invested in Evo, they own a piece of that. And then the bigger picture, you never know, but with any company, while Evo is set up to, be around as long as we can, helping as many athletes as possible become champions, the big picture is that at some point for investors, Evo could get acquired by a bigger company and bought out, which would mean that all the investors could get a return on their investment that way. There's no plans for that right now, but it's always possible. And the other possibility is that Evo does an IPO someday where they actually become a public company, and then investors would be able to, maybe sell their stock at that point. But the reality is, in the short term, you're investing in Evo for the long term. This is not a short-term investment where you're going to turn it around and sell it the next day. You're in it with us for the long haul to get these athletes to the championship level. And in the meantime, you're going to get some fun perks. You're going to get to watch these athletes. If they win money, you're going to get some potential returns from that. But the big picture on the investment is this is something that you want to invest in if you invest for the long term.
John, back to you. Does Evo plan to invest equal amounts of money in every athlete signed?
Well, to invest in, let's say, a race car driver, professional race car driver, compared to a combat sports athlete, is quite different. So it takes different amounts of money or budget to develop different athletes in different sports. So the answer to that is no. It costs quite less to develop a golfer than it would be an IndyCar driver. So it will all be related to the individual sport.
I like to add on to that. We won't be investing the same amount, but we will be investing the amount to make them the best athletes possible. So it's not a set price of investment for each boxer, because one boxer might need something more in order to make them a champion. So Evo's not going to put a budget on that athlete and say, you're limited to this. We want to make sure that every one of our athletes is successful.
Jay, does Evo plan to have a racing team?
No, we don't. We are all about the athletes. We are about putting them in the best position, giving them the best training, whatever is in their best interests. That is what Evo is about.
And Kendall, how does Evo plan to cover all of the expenses associated with racing?
Well, initially, Evo is going to be funded by investors, people that invest in this round, people that perhaps invest before this round started. And that money will be used to develop the first Evo athletes. But as the company grows, like any other company, Evo expects to have athletes that generate income. There may be income that comes from other sources, as Greg pointed out, from, for example, events that may take place. And those revenues will come back into the company and will be used in many cases to fund additional athletes. But investors will always know part of the Evo deal with them is every investor is going to share in the revenues of the company. There's going to be a piece of those revenues that go back to investors all the time. So it's not just waiting around for an Evo athlete to become a champion. As the Evo athletes are winning on their way up and earning some money, some of that's going to be returned to investors when that happens.
Anthony, are future athletes' endorsement and sponsorship part of the Evo plan?
Absolutely. At Evo, we like to think of it as creating an ecosystem for sponsors. They not only have access to one individual athlete, but they have access to everything within our company, which includes combat sports, future individual sports such as golf, and so on.
Marvell, what is the planned training practice for an Evo athlete?
Yes, Asha, that's a great question. I'm sure a lot of people would obviously like to know the answer to that, but I can't give away all the secrets. But what I could tell you is that obviously listening to the panel, you can get a sense that our philosophy and our track record is proven. So with that being said, I could give you a few tips as to how we're going to achieve those goals. Our style is pretty much collaborative integration with the athletes. This is not a dictatorship. We will actually, through tools, get live, near real-time and live real-time stats back from the athlete, get feedback from the athlete, so that we can actually make clear, concise decisions as to what it is that we'd like to do for the training program. There are 8 steps that I feel are essential in creating the next champion, which is what we're going to do at Evo. First one is obviously to identify the fitness goals. The second one is to create a balance, routine specific to whatever the division is that that athlete is competing in. The third one is to increase the intensity over the duration of the life cycle of the athlete. The fourth one is obviously to schedule the workouts around the athlete's training time. Scheduling that is going to be very imperative into their success based on their availability and their other obligations. The fifth one is basically to diversify their portfolio with regards to their training style. By that I mean, just because you're a combat sport athlete doesn't necessarily mean that you're only going to do things specific to that. You may do drills associated to hockey that you may even never think. But what we're working is that we're working some accessory work. The sixth one is going to be the heart rate training. Our athletes are going to be competing at the highest levels, and we need to make sure that they're tested and ready to go. And this ensures that they're able to handle any stress and respond to any competitive advances that may be occurring in the event. The seventh is basically to block rehab, prehab, and recovery time. That's going to be essential to the athlete. That's going to be essential to us at Evo and obviously the investors. The last thing is a nice little acronym that I call TAD, T-A-D. Track, analyze, and discuss. We're going to track the progress. We're going to analyze the progress so that we can make decisions as to where we want to take it. And then we're going to discuss those with not only our resources in-house, but we're also going to discuss that with the athlete so that we're all on the same page. So with that being said, it gives you a little insight as to how we're going to make the magic work.
Jay, could you talk to me about some of the specific aspects of training an EVO driver?
Yeah, first of all, we'll get them in for fitness analysis, cardio, strength, all that good stuff. And then when it comes to on-track performance, we have a lot of tools that we use. The data, the car collects data every moment the car's running, so we can see exactly what's going on. We like to call it the lie detector. There's no pulling the wool over our eyes, so to speak. We can see, all the brake pressures, throttle application, steering application, exactly how a car's moving in the corner. So we'll work through all of those techniques and teach a driver, what we want to see from them, what we expect of them, and what will be expected of them when they become professional. That trickles down into track maps, video review, post-race, pre-race notes. I mean, we have a lot of homework. Again, we'll walk them through those steps. PR, social media. I mean, all of that stuff. We're looking for complete athletes. Talent. Yes, we're seeking out the talent, but hard work beats talent, and so. I'm looking for someone that is talented and has the work ethic and determination to get to the top, because it's not easy. And we'll give them all the information, the tools, the support they need, and hopefully they can deliver.
Greg, can you talk me through the specific aspects of training an EVO fighter?
Yeah, obviously an EVO fighter will have the ability to have some of the best coaching, I believe, in the country with Kevin Barry and his team. He'll also be in a stable of professional athletes. This is when he will, see how they work and get that experience. One of the things that I think about as they go along and become this athlete, one of the things that I think about, especially in combat sports, is matchups. Kevin and I have seen times where there's athletes that just weren't ready for the competition they were put in with. And the reason for that was strictly money-based. They needed money to go pay their bills, to pay their trainers and such. We will have the ability with EVO to bring the fighters along and put them at a level of competition and build them up. In combat sports, a bad defeat can end a career very quickly. So these are the things where you need to build up a fighter. You need to make sure that they're ready for that competition that you're setting the level at. Obviously, there's going to be very few people that can have a few fights and then fight for a world championship. So bringing them along and bringing them on at the right speed and picking those matchups is critical. And Kevin Barry, I believe, is one of the best at the business at evaluating how an athlete should be brought along.
Thank you so much. This is a question for the entire panel. What is EVO's goal for their 5-year plan?
Well, I can say that I think that, EVO's goal is to build the most champions we can. I think that individual sports is a huge component of the sports world, and it's only going to get bigger in the current climate. I think that EVO could be the next Amazon. We will build this up into something that anyone would want to be a part of. And, this is the chance to get in on that ground level. That's my thoughts.
I agree with Greg. I think that, EVO's 5-year goal is to build as many champions as possible. But we have one unique thing, and that's being first to market with a company like this. And, I think that being first to market gives us the best opportunity to create those champions over the next 5 years.
I would say from my perspective, what I would love to see EVO do over the next 5 years is have those same champions being developed that Greg has talked about and Anthony mentioned, but that those investors, those people who gave us their hard-earned money to build this company, can, on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon or Monday evening, turn on their TV and see Evo athletes competing within 5 years and know that they actually own a piece of that athlete's earnings. And to me, that's the exciting part, is people being able to share that with their friends and watch shows together and watch a fight together, watch a race together, watch a golf match together, and know they actually have a stake in the outcome of that match they're watching. To me, that's what I hope to see Evo do within the next 5 years.
Marvell, I'll ask you the same question. What is the 5-year goal for Evo?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, from a fitness perspective, is that I'd love to see Evo emerge as one of the recognizable figures or figureheads in athlete development across the spectrum, not just limited to the 3 divisions that we're starting with. Really be a leader and a major contributor to sports science in the future. And that is my passion, and that's what I'm hoping to be able to contribute to Evo in the next 5 years.
The same question to you, Jay.
Yeah, I think within 5 years, pretty simple, want the Evo athletes to be crushing the competition. You know, that's what we're here for. We're here to, train these athletes, be the best of the best, and we want everyone to be knocking on our door saying, please take us on. And that's the bottom line.
And John, what's the 5-year goal for Evo?
Well, over the next 5 years, I hope that we create many champions in all these different sports that we're being active in, and creating a brand that everybody knows, and just the average sports fan knows what we're doing. And after that, I think the sky's the limit.
Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us today. If you'd like to learn more about Evo and how to invest, go to evoinvest.com.